Cool. Angiahi Mārie, afternoon everybody, and welcome to the official meeting part of the inaugural meeting of our triennium. We have of course celebrated our mihi whakatau this morning, this afternoon, 2 o'clock, which was wonderful to celebrate all together, and for those who had family joining us, that was and friends, that was really, really special. And of course to mana whenua for their part as well, which I think is a real honour for this council. So delighted with that. And then of course when you get to quite quickly and time before you kick on into the guts of it. So we are going to move first of all to item 25.19.1. Wayne is
Yes.
cool. The declaration of office. So pulling up the first bit. Oh, we don't have to do anything, we just sign
You've done what you need.
that part's done. Okay. So the next one, because we do have to do something for the appointment of the deputy mayor. Who, spoiler alert, it's Tracy. All we need to do for this is note that the report be received and the appointment of the deputy mayor as councillor Mason. I am happy to move that.
Second it.
I was happy to second that. Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Moving on to page 17. Statutory advice and code of conduct.
Yes.
Kelly.
So hopefully you've had a chance to just familiarise yourself with this again for those returning councillors and for those who are new ones. Just to familiarise yourself, we do have a code of conduct. This is we're keeping the existing code of conduct until the legislation is passed later this year, December, I think. The government is mandating the code of conduct that all councils will adopt. So we do need to adopt a code of conduct. This is expressed in the report.
Checking this include that statutory. Yes.
Anybody got any questions in relation to the code of conduct that is before us, recognising that that should be a temporary, effectively? Recommendations that we receive the report and accept the level of significance, note the advice given on relevant legislation, adopt the existing code of conduct, and note that a new mandatory code of conduct will come into effect in December 2025. Martin's happy to move that, and Sugar was happy to second it. Thank you. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now we move forward to item number 4, which you'll find from page 46, adoption of standing orders.
Yeah, so this is one just governs how council and the community boards function. Again, it's so in the past we've had to refer to standing orders for 2 years here, but they're important documents that enable councils to effectively govern in these formal occasions.
In central government working through a mandatory set of standing orders, which is in the same piece of legislation as the code of conduct. So I suppose the easiest way is just to keep the standing orders we've got, and then we'll look to see what the story is in December.
Did anybody have any questions on the current standing orders as they stand at the moment?
No questions, just about timing. It's coming in December. Is it going to be before or after our meeting, and how will that have any impact? Otherwise,
I don't think it will, because if it's after our last meeting, probably the first item in January will be the new standing.
And even once they are a standardised national one, we would remain under these standing orders until we adopt them anyway at the first opportunity.
There'll probably be something in the legislation that says we're obliged to adopt them at sort of the earliest opportunity, as opposed to to sit on the fence for a year.
The recommendation is that the report be received, but I wonder, do we also need to adopt?
Well, the standing orders stay in place until they get changed.
Okay.
So that they're still in force until they.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to move that the report be received. Tracy's happy to second that. Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carries. Yeah. They take up quite a lot of space, and we're moving all the way ahead to page 131. Council organisations and policy on appointment of directors.
Yeah, this one is just to let somewhere that we do have this policy, although in the past we've never had any council control organisations towards the end of the term. We will. It isn't since it's been announced. And so it's just letting council know that this exists, and also and later on in the page later on in the agenda, when we're appointing to external groups, to be aware of the policy to
We have a policy on appointments, but we'll be partnering with 2 other councils. How will this tie into the future CCO?
But this one for the Southern Waters won't, because the legislation's been pretty clear that elected members won't be on as directors. So, but for instance, if sometime in the future with the Cromwell Hall, if the intention was to put that into a CCO, then this council would appoint the directors of that facility. So there is a relevance to it, but not in the Southern Waters case.
Any questions? Someone like to move recommendations A, B, and C? Thank you. Seconded. Thank you, Bob. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Delegations.
So you'll see their delegations registered. We've made a couple of changes to the existing one. You'll see on page 139 the various portfolio lead and their deputies. So that's changed employment. And so that explains why people might be sitting in different places than they did last time. So I put everyone together. And there was a couple of other changes these last training. There's a clause talking about minor property dealings. Now what we've done is add a little extra bit to tell everyone on property. Also, we've added a delegation for Peter to do with the Southern Waters.
Like to talk through that?
Yeah, so with Southern Waters, your Path to Water Services delivery plan, that's been approved by the government through the DIA with the letter that they sent us. Now, we're committed to implementing the transition to Southern Waters over the next 18, 19 months. We are the administrative authority for that group of councils. So effectively what that means is for the transition and the implementation. In the literature that was sent out around the WSDP, it said clear there's a forecast is somewhere around $8 million to implement it, anywhere between 1.4 and 8 million. And so this is making provision for the 8 million. Now, the way that is to be funded is the transition costs for Southern Waters is to be loan funded, debt funded, and that debt will be transferred across to the water entity along with the assets, along with the relevant staff, so on and so on, when the water services entity is established. We are taking on that debt facility, so all the debt and the interest charged will be sheeted back to the water services entity once it's created. We're taking that debt on because for the simple fact, actually, we get it at a cheaper rate because our credit rating is AA stable, which is actually, as you know, higher than many councils in New Zealand. So we get it at a cheaper rate than our colleagues at Clutha. And or there will be some, as we bring some further decisions to the councils, we have to tidy up some of the administrative stuff in the background, and we'll bring that back to council for decision. But suffice to say, we will be debt funding this. The interest will also be accrued, and everything will be sheeted back to the water services entity. Effectively, the cost to implement the water services entity will be spread across the 3 districts and all those who are connected to water, wastewater, and stormwater will all contribute.
So we own that debt risk up until a certain time.
Yeah, so we yes, and we've got reasonably low debt right now, 50 million. So yes, that debt is ours, but the interest charge on that debt will also be sheeted across on transition date. And so effectively the cost does fall on the water services entity and it's spread across everyone.
Any other questions? To move recommendations A and B. Thank you, Tracy and Curtis. Those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Page 179. Appointment of councillors to community boards. So we've made some changes this time around. Rather than having 3 councillors appointed to the Vincent and the Cromwell Community Board, it will be 1, which is in line with the Maniatoto and the Teviot Valley, which does mean a bit more work for those councillors, but I'm confident that the ones that we've chosen are ready to do the mahi. And I think will hopefully help that connection between council and community board, because it'll be through a single conduit that will feel the full weight of responsibility, I am sure, to bring the views of the community board to the table alongside the chairs. The recommendations are that we receive the report and accept the level of significance. Appoint Councillor Brown to the Cromwell Community Board, Councillor Pennant to the Teviot Valley Community Board, Councillor Duncan to the Maniatoto Community Board, and Councillor McPherson to the Vincent Community Board. Would any of you like to speak to that? Say anything? Or has anybody got any questions or complaints? Thank you, Stu. Thank you, Sarah. All those in favour?
Solid group of people.
Yeah.
Looking on paper, though, isn't it?
Very solid. Right, moving to item number 8, council and committee appointments. There's my report.
Essentially, it's you saying, these are the committees to be created. Or so basically it's the re-establishment of those committees and the appointments of folk onto those committees.
So we do have not as many committees as some, but the ones that we have are very important and valuable. So we are looking to re-establish the Audit and Risk Committee, the Executive Committee, the Assessment Committee, and the Hearings Panel. My proposal is to appoint Councillors Brown, Pennant, and Patterson to the Audit and Risk Committee, which is chaired by Bruce Robertson, who will remain our independent chair. Myself, along with Councillors Duncan, Laws, Pennant, and Patterson, to the Executive Committee, which oversees the employment of Chief Executive. Councillors Brown as the chair and Councillor Scott as the deputy chair of the Assessment Committee, which is the wonderful committee that gives away the money from creative communities and the Sport NZ Rural Travel Fund. and notes that the hearings panel is currently using independent commissioners for hearing until December 2025.
Emma, I have a hearings panel meeting in November. Am I being treated then as an independent commissioner?
Good question. Yes.
Yeah, okay, well, that explains it, yeah.
Okay. We then have some appointments to the following. So the Otago Regional Transport Committee, Councillor Duncan. Would you like to continue in that role? Central Otago Health Incorporated. Look, Patterson, would you like to continue?
Yes, I would, but I also note, yeah, that Bob's also on that board as well now, so. he's part of that group. So you've got two for the price of one.
Pretty neat, and I think that'll be really helpful, Bob, for you to bring that Cromwell view to that community as well.
Yep.
Note the Clutha District Council's appointment as council's representative on the Otago Museum Trust. Do you want to fill us in on that?
Basically, yeah, there's a Otago Museum Trust and with the it's outreach.
Interesting enough too, they pay considerably more than we pay.
Mm.
Not sure why that is, it's historical.
Central Otago Wild and Conifer Control Group. We have had an appointee on there for the last few years, but it's run a bit differently by some of the other executives, founding members, in that the regional council's appointment is actually a member of staff. However, I think it is good for us to have an elected representative across that as well, if anybody has a particular interest in wild and kinds. Otherwise, I'm happy to continue in that role if nobody harbours a desperate desire to help the group, which is functioning really quite well at the moment.
We have the ability to appoint some or have someone from staff to review.
We do, yes, because I haven't always made every meeting, and Gordon Bailey from the Parks team has stepped into that role and is attending on behalf of our staff team, which I think is great and very.
But if you could, there'd be a chance you could just delegate to one of us if it wasn't. Not.
You're always welcome to go, yeah. I don't make every meeting, but there is positives. Otago Central Lakes Regional Deal Committee. At this point, not knowing who other councils might choose, it has been Tracy and I for the last, since we set up the joint committee. The requirements of the committee is that it must be the mayor or chair plus one other. I think Tracy might be the only one other back potentially at the table. There may well be some other changes, so unless anybody has any particular objections, we'll continue with myself and Tracy, although of course you are entitled and welcome at the meetings as well.
When will you know how that all shapes up when they appoint their own committees and that, I suppose?
Yeah, once they appoint their committees, so Queenstown Lakes will probably be not too far away, and I think Otago Regional Council even be a wee bit further because they need to appoint their chair and their committees and structure will fall out of that. Any questions or discussion on any of those? I'm happy. Would someone else like to move recommendations A through to D along with the associated numbers? I'll second it. Thank you, Stu and Cheryl. Those in favour? Page 183, our proposed meeting schedule. Please go away.
Well, you'll see it in the meeting schedule for the rest of this year and next year. You'll note in 2026 the addition of a workshop day on the second Wednesday of each month, and then the council day on the last Wednesday. Just looking for an opportunity to have workshop sessions at an appointed time, not at the end of the day, when everyone is pretty exhausted, that sort of thing. And of course, we'll be talking lots next year about the LTP, and that will take a lot of time, and so it's probably better to put aside a day a month for that instead of trying to cram it into the end of each. There's a couple of extra days in 2025, which should be in your calendars. I'll check later on to make sure they are in November and December. Workshop days. And this one because things have moved on. But I'll be in your calendars. The first one's the 11th of November. I think the other one is on the 12th of December. But it's around about those times anyways. Yeah, it'll be in your calendars.
And then intention is also that the agenda meetings for the portfolios will also be held that Wednesday.
Yeah.
Just to try and have some continuity for people who have other jobs, and then for staff as well to try and look in a specific day.
Yeah.
Well,
Where is it? Does it attempted calendar is there for that, or are we? Where are we at with that one? With the
for Cromwell?
yeah.
Yes, I created a new calendar for Cromwell for them to consider at their inaugural meeting, because it's theirs to approve. But that was looking to move to a once a month meeting, considering all the work they've got on there and to keep them busy. And we're looking to have that on the first Tuesday of each month. And then, so that revised calendar, I'll basically just overlay this one at their meeting to say, you know, and a new one. What do you reckon about this once a month?
And they may want to give it a go for a month or a year and see how it's working.
The only question so far unofficially is that enough? The first Tuesday of the month and the last Wednesday of the month. There's not much in between. Going from and obviously plenty from community board up to council. But anything to come back, is that enough for gap? Because I think there's two in that proposed calendar that were back to back within a week. Is there a chance of moving another week in?
No, there wasn't, because it clashes with the hearings.
Yeah.
I
figured that was
so that was the reason I didn't want to put it in that second Tuesday.
Did that sit?
Because that's set for the hearings thing.
Oh yeah.
I think we should be right with it for the most part, and
Yeah, I think there were two
Yeah,
that it was
thing that-
real tight. That was all, but knowing that in advance, at least if we're a meeting ahead.
Yeah.
It's better than now, so.
So at the CCB inaugural meeting, I can have a look at that and see if that's something we want to do.
Yeah, nice, positive move.
right. In that case, would someone like to move that we receive the report and adopt the proposed meeting schedule for the remainder of 2025 and 26? Thank you, Sarah and Bob. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Then it gets us to the end of the official part. We just say the date of the next scheduled meeting. We'll all be back here next week on the 29th of October.
There's stuff going on in the morning, so it's not day.
So we'll be here from 9:15, but there's some things with staff first, and then the public meeting will start at
12:30.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much for attending on such a special day. Peter?
Yeah.
We started with a mini whakatau. I feel like we probably.
Yeah. I'll
could
close.
use the kind of-
Whakatakataha ki te uru, whakatakataha ki te tonga, ki a mākina, ki ni ke uta, ki ngā taratara ki te. E hi ake ana te atakura he teo, he hoka, he hauhu, ki hei maureo. Kia ora.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're ready to get cracking.